July 22nd, 2020. Hope everyone's doing well. I got a letter in the mail today. We're going to talk about what's going on in the world, not gardening and things. That's another video. So this came in the mail today. It's a newsletter from the council, my council area. And it says, there's a cover. It says, coronavirus infection. Data shows glaring racial disparity. Now, that sounds alarming. What does that mean? And it says here that whether in big cities or little towns, Black and Latino communities across the United States are disproportionately affected by the coronavirus, becoming 3 times as likely to be infected as white residents in their communities. That's strange. That glaring disparity is backed by data recently released by the federal government. I always question data. I'm not doubting this, but I always question data. Where are we? It also shows that blacks and Latinos are twice as likely to die from the virus as white people. It's scary. They put some scary things in there. You could die. That's what they're saying. Some public health experts say the disparity is due in part to underlying health problems among these minorities. Health problems largely due to systemic racism in the United States. Absolutely. The new federal data reported by the New York Times shows that the racial disparity spanned the entire nation. That's what I want to hear. That's what I want. Truth. Not that I want racism by any means. I want truth. It's across the entire nation, but it's even farther than that. It's across the whole globe. If it's a globe. This another conversation. Span the entire nation throughout urban, suburban, and rural areas and across all age groups. So, what they're saying is, across all areas of the country, all age groups, certain races are being affected. This, I was making a video earlier and I was talking about this vessel, like Red Bearded Shepherd is my channel name now. My name is Richard. This vessel that I'm wearing in this incarnation, this so far 34 years I've been here, this time around, is not me. It's what I've done with what I've been given for these 34 years. But that does not mean that's who I am. That's not me. What I am, what we are, is God. Every single one of us. All of it. Everything. You've never been outside of God. You've never been away from God. The only time you have in perception is when you trick yourself that you are me, your ego. So Richard Witt. Then I attach to Richard Witt and what he's been through. You know, his surgeries. Well, my back hurts. I've had surgery. This and that. No, I feel great. I feel beautiful. I feel healthy. I feel abundant. It's our choice always how we feel. Always has, always will be. So when you believe what people tell you, put it this way. So I don't know who said it, but somebody wise, give them credit when you see who said it. It's two things. The only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing, good people to do nothing, I say. But the other one is, if you don't think for yourself, someone else will do it for you. And those two right there, I mean, huge. You're given the ability to think and manifest and create this reality. That's what God gives you, the power to do that. And in hopes that you use that power to manifest abundance and beauty and see this beautiful reality as harmonious as it can be, and yourself connected with it, and then literally letting go and going home to God. So purify yourself as much as possible, and then go home. Say, I've experienced it. I've lived this life. I've learned my lessons. I've lived in this dense physical reality as long as I needed to. I can go home now. I'm done. I've completed my mission. When you're there at that point, you go home, that ego sheds. It just washes off of you. Or not even that. You literally like evaporate beyond it, through it. So attaching to these egos is my point, is not irresponsible, but limiting yourself. You're not seeing the whole potential. It's like never getting out of third gear in a fast sports car. It's like, yeah, in third gear, I'm going fast enough. That's all I need. You might want to see what 4 and 5 have for you. 6 maybe. So it's figure out as much as you can, but not get stuck in the brain, because there's a trick there. There's a loophole. They want you. Your ego wants you trapped in the mind instead of in the heart. So when you're in the heart, and when you're in the thinking with your gut instinct, and you feel something that's right in your gut, and then you process it with love, and then you act with the mind. I know I'm going on a tangent here, but this is very important, because with all this in mind, we're attaching to our egos a lot, and they're trying to do that to us. They're trying to get us to attach. I don't like saying they, because who's they? Ego. Ego wants us to attach to ego. Those who are controlled by the ego and they forgot that they are God, they want power. They seek power and attention and crave to be that position they can be in, and they seek places of power. And in our world, it's you don't have to be the best person or worst person to get in power. And unfortunately now, the way it's been working, the more of the ego-driven beings, I think, have taken power from this system. They got the power from the system. So to get to where I'm going here, there is a, it's not racism. What's the best word for it? It's ego versus God is what it is. So certain groups of people, all of us at one time, we all know, but we're tricking ourselves to forget it, know that we are God. We have that connection to God. We are connected to Mother Earth. We are connected to the plants. Our medicine is in plants. Our food is in plants. When we live in harmony with our ecosystem, we grow, we thrive, we're abundant. And then once we've fulfilled ourselves, we've lived in abundance and harmony, we go home. That means the ego goes away. Ego doesn't want that. So ego wants you to stay right here. So what does ego do? Tricks us any way it can to get us to fight and quarrel and bicker and research too much and get stuck in it. So there are people around the world who remember their roots. They remember what I just said, that we are God. They know that we have that power within us. And yeah, it's been watered down and diluted over this centuries and centuries and countless manipulations and types of resets that we're not going to get into right now, but literally entire resets. This is the 5th time so far. There's supposedly 2 more after this. I believe that's accurate, but this is the 5th that I remember. And I want you to believe me. I really don't. Because if you just believe me, you're not thinking for yourself. You're just listening to what I tell you to do or say or what I say. But I genuinely remember 5 times of humanity starting, prospering, and then ego washing it back down. We let it do it to us. And it's not that it wipes out everybody. It's like a reset, so the masses, the bulk of humanity gets, either a lot of them leave, they ascend, they realize we're done with this reality, we're going to leave or go elsewhere, or they get wiped out in cataclysms because we are living out of harmony, out of balance with the planet so long that things literally are going to put us back in check. Earthquakes, tsunamis, hurricanes, coronal mass ejections, you name it, it's out there, it can happen. They're natural safety mechanisms for the planet to prevent perpetual imbalance. And that's what the goal is, prevent that from happening. If there's perpetual imbalance, it's just nothing's growing or learning. It's just, it's not growth in life. So those people who are connected, typically our indigenous tribes around the world, are the closest, like what they call Aborigines. And I've heard they call them Aborigines because they say they're the original people, but ab means not. So what they're actually calling them is not original people. And I actually agree with that, because I don't believe those people are the first people to be in Australia, and that's it. I think there's been 5 cycles that I remember, and they're still part of the end of the 4th into the beginning of the 5th. So in this cycle, yeah, they're the original people there, but beforehand, I mean, the whole world. There's so much we're missing. We're not taught in schools purposely because we are being taught by the ego-driven who want us to be trapped in an illusion that we can't figure out who we really are. These minorities, what they call minorities, which aren't minorities, and they are actual people who are more connected to their roots. They remember dance. They remember plant medicine. They remember unity with family and staying close to the home unit. And they remember there's walk around barefoot. There's so many things. Eating good food from the earth, plant-based food, like I said earlier. They have traditions and heritage and memories and oral history passed down that the mainstream you're never going to hear about. And the mainstream the ego wants to destroy those memories, because once we remember who we are from way back in the past, we're more powerful. You have a stronger foundation to build on, because you know who you are, what you've learned, and you grow from it. So these movements now, they're literally egos trying to destroy history by destroying statues, calling it racist, destroying this monument, that monument, renaming that. What they're actually doing is trying to clean up egos' past issues that it did wrong so it can do it again to you. So if you comply and go to the public schools and eat the food that they're poisoning you with and take the poisonous vaccines that they're poisoning you with, and I mean, just do a little bit of research. There's so much information out there. And I'll be happy to share it all, whatever I know, with you. Those people are being herded into certain areas, inner cities especially. So Africa right now, Tibet right now, the Ural Mountains, parts of Eastern Europe, Western Russia, the steppes, the Yazidis in the Saudi Arabian area, the peninsula there, Somalia in Africa. I already called Africa out, but Somalia. There's places all over the world where there's still that light flickering from the past. They hold that torch of knowledge. And the ego wants to eradicate that so it can play the same trick on us again. So if you want to let that happen, listen to what they tell you. Go ahead, drink the Kool-Aid. Go to their schools and listen to exactly what they tell you. Voting is voting. You're giving charge. So when you want to give your power away and say, think for me, I don't want to do it for myself, go ahead. By all means, if that's what you want to do, you are entitled to do it because you have free will, and I love you for it. I love all of you regardless. But the truth is you are God. And you can continue as I am right now. I'm still playing the illusion. I'm playing Richard Witt here. If you want to continue that illusion as deep as you are or get deeper, you're allowed to. But if you really want to grow, you can start moving away from the ego. And these cultures that are being corralled, indoctrinated, vaccinated, they are being poisoned in deleting memory, not only genetic memory, but cellular memory, oral memory, oral history memory. There would be like synaptic memory, I guess you'd call it. There's people that the ego wants to program this out of us so that we forget our past. Now look up Tartaria if you want. Atlantis, Lemuria, Mu. There are continents all over the world that are now ocean, and they were literally mountains and dry land. They're still like the Azore Mountains. Those are the tops of a continent that was literally where all that water's at now. Our whole world shifts and changes all the time, and it does that because we get convinced by ego to live out of balance, burning oil from the ground, which is ridiculous. There's energy everywhere. It's abundant. It always has been, always will be. Poisoning our water, putting fluoride in our water, chlorine in our water. What is that about? How does that help at all? You notice we used to use copper pipes everywhere? Now what are we using? I just redid my house. PEX. It's all plastic. I didn't want to do it, but we didn't want to deal with the stuff the guys I had working with didn't want to solder. It was a lot more money at the time, and it just made more sense and cheaper. So that's that's like Walmart and Amazon, all these things. If they make it a little bit easier, you're going to follow that path of least resistance because they know you operate like water because you're energy. So they know how we work. So by understanding how you work, you can navigate properly away from that. That lesson I didn't do. I went for the PEX. Next house I do is going to be copper, for sure. I don't care how much it costs. I'll take my time and do copper or something even better. But Copper naturally kills bacteria. Colloidal silver kills bacteria and viruses naturally. You don't need antibacterial soap or antibacterial Purell or any of that stuff, because all that stuff does, it kills all the bacteria. Again, I'm on a tangent here, but this is all background information for you to relate what I'm saying here. Your body has more bacteria cells in it than human cells, by number, not by value. So if you count each individual cell, you count more bacteria cells than your cells. So we need bacteria. It's essential to life. Now, when you wipe out all of it with antibacterial soaps and vaccinations, Purell, what's the thing they're doing now too? Antibiotics too. I mean, these things aren't terrible for you, but if you're using them all the time, yeah, it's going to wipe you out. It's going to wipe out your gut bacteria, which is your immune system and your mood, and you're going to get wiped out. Now, when you put a mask on top of that, you're suffocating yourself because you're breathing in CO2. Not enough to make you drop dead right there. People go, "Oh, I'm fine. I feel fine." Yeah, for now, but you're making your body acidic, and it does stop spit for sure. I'm not arguing that. That's common sense. Something in front of your face will stop something big enough from hitting somebody else. But viruses and bacteria go right through those cloth masks. So yeah, it'll stop the spit, but it's not stopping what you want to stop. So you're hurting yourself wearing them. And again, ego is telling you to wear them. Ego is running these systems. Maritime Admiralty law. Now, again, back to what this is about, the race thing. African Americans, Latinos, now we have a lot more of Middle Eastern people coming here. There's Asian people here. Again, these are all ego shells. White people, it doesn't matter what your shell is wrapped in. You are God. We are one. We're on the same team. Technically, there's only two teams, really. Technically there's one team. But if you follow the ego, there's two teams, because the ego is his own team trying to fight you away from God. And that's where the devil comes from, or Satan comes from, or all these religions, the jinn and all that. It's all about physics. It's about vibration, the torus field. And if you're going closer to home, or the center, or you're going out. And their goal is to trick us to go without. So these people who are connected to their roots are being persecuted around the world. Yazidis, I mentioned, are getting killed by people over there, all over the world again. Now, these people are financed and paid for by your tax dollars, by my tax dollars. We, our straw men and women, pay into this slush fund of taxes to the government because we think it's the patriotic American thing to do, and it would be if the ego wasn't running where that money's going. So this nation still stands for what's right, God, uniting with God, getting closer to home. But ego has been infiltrating for a long time. A couple hundred years from what I can tell, or even longer. I've said even thousands in the past. Ego's always been, if you're, any history, when you're physical matter, any physical matter history is part of ego, because the ego wraps itself with physical matter and then manifests reality. So that's, all of that's been based off ego. But I'm saying it goes in ebb and flow, up and down. So right now we're at a tipping point. We can go up or we can go down. And that's any moment, technically. Any moment you can go up or down. So by knowing this, you can choose, navigate properly how you want to go. So I've driven coast to coast. I've driven up and down the coast, but I've gone east to west, north and south. I stopped in a lot of major cities, a lot of inner cities, a lot of rural communities, everything in between. Mountaintops, riverbeds, dry riverbeds, not all of it, but a lot of it. I've seen enough to know that the way I live right now, once I've learned and woken up more to what's going on, I clean up my diet. So I only drink spring water. I only eat organic plant food. Not raw plant-based. I still eat some butter and eggs and things, cheese, but no meats, no caffeine, well, it's not that I'm against caffeine. I just don't care for it. I don't like it. No synthetic chemicals, none of that. So I realize it's like island hopping from healthy place to healthy place. Like we literally go, I'd stop at this healthy grocery store in this state and stock up my coolers and everything, get salads and get foods and garbanzo beans and pizzas and organic, non-GMO, everything healthy pizzas. So you can eat the same food almost, not certain things you're going to want to cut out anyway once you change your body. At least I did. But it's like island hopping from healthy place to healthy place. This whole country is being polluted by ego ultimately, but with a parasitic. It's not food, it's feed. It's really cattle feed. That's how they look at us. That's why we're part of the Admiralty system. That's why we have a slave number. That's why we have a slave name, all caps. It's a slave name. And that's nothing to do with race. That's everybody, all of us. So that's the whole point of this video, is this racism, this illusion of racism that we have. Don't get me wrong, there is still racism, but the systemic that they're talking about, it's systemic. It's against all people, all of us. So what would you call that? I don't even know. I mean, I'm gonna look forward to comments or suggestions, but I don't know what you would call it. It's literally ego trying to exist, and then any way it has to. So if it's got to fight and keep us here in misery and rack up more karmic debt because we fight and hurt each other because we didn't know better, that's a win for ego, because it gets us to stay here. Because once you rack up karmic debt, if you harm somebody, the universe works on balance. If you don't balance out that, when you do something negative, the scales are tipped, whichever way you want to look at it. And if you don't, you got to bring it back to balance. Otherwise, you don't leave. You stay in this physical reality. So that's the goal. That's why all these wars and crimes and hatred and religions and things exist, to get us to fight each other. That's what this racism is about. And these movements are funded by, like, George Soros just paid $250 million to Black Lives Matter. And he'll be on the news, oh, he's a hero, he's trying to help equality. No, he's not. He is the exact same person trying to divide us. He's working for ego. He's trying to divide you, just like the Rothschilds, just like the Rockefellers, and all these other people. I'm not judging them. I love them genuinely as much as I love all of you. I love all of us equal. But there are certain ones working towards ego. There's certain ones working towards God. Well, inside is God. That's technically where you want to go. So these movements are being manipulated, and we're being brainwashed to believe the wrong thing and put our energy into that thing, so we get negative debt, karmic debt, and then we got to come back. And that's a win, because then ego gets to inhabit more lives and keep going. So do you want to keep doing that? If that's the case, fine. But if you want to start working out of that, or at least not rack up debt, karmic debt, rack up positive karma, then, start paying attention to how these people speak, what they do, how they act. Because what they say and what they do is two different things. And do reverse speech analysis on them. You can hear that they're really not telling the truth. And it's systemic. It is everywhere. It's systemic. I've been researching this for 34 years in this body, but a long, long time. And we have the power right away, right now. If everyone just says, all right, we've done some terrible things to each other, we've done this, we've done that, we see that it's wrong, let's work together and grow together right now as a family of humanity, consciousness, God. And then we can evolve back home, or however we're going right now. We can go more egos, but higher evolved, more harmonious egos if you wish. But why drag down and feed into the fighting and the anger and the suppression and not knowing your true history and just believing falsities, across the board falsities. History I was taught in school is wrong. The language I was taught is Babylon. The whole thing across the board was health was pretty much ass backwards. Physics is wrong. The universe is electrical in nature. It's not nuclear. The nuclear bombs exist, but it's electrical in nature. They have it skewed just enough that it looks right, but you're not going to figure certain things out. And that was the goal, because when you figure certain things out, it branches to the next one, then the next one, then the next one, the next one, and the whole deck of cards goes. And they have no clue how to stop that then, because you just keep branching off. Say, wow, and that's connected to that, and that's connected to that. It's just so much. So it's everything. So basically, the point of this video is The systemic racism that we're hearing about is not against only certain races. Yeah, on one level it is for those who don't research and really know what it's about, but on the level of those who are really pulling the strings and doing this behind the scenes, the Soroses, the Rockefellers, but they're still puppets too. Behind them, behind the Vatican, behind Islam, behind England and the Bank of England, behind the Crown of England, most of the crowns now. Anyone that's in maritime admiralty law and with the UN and the UN involved too, Bill Gates, all these people are involved in this ego-driven divide and conquer, keep us as puppets. They want us chipped. They want us all that shit that sounded crazy like conspiracy. They really want it, and you'll see it once you figure it out. But their only hope at survival is that you just don't feel like looking it up and you don't bother. And they'll keep distracting you as much as they can to prevent you from figuring it out. So you'll notice things like now people are waking up. Well, then 10 years ago people started waking up, even more than that. But they've been waking up for decades now. So more things roll out. Crack epidemic, heroin epidemic, 5G's coming out now. That's the next epidemic. I don't want to manifest this, but that is going to be a huge, huge health concern for everybody on the planet if we don't deal with it accordingly. So, just look where the towers are at first. They're right outside your schools. That's first, right where they go. But what are we taught in school? Kids shouldn't have cell phones and not pay attention in class, right? So why put a high 60 gigahertz high frequency sideband waves going through that building? Why? What's the point? LAN networks work faster, way faster. They already have those in school. So it has nothing to do with high-speed internet and the nonsense that they're trying to program us with. They say, the Internet of Things, everything needs to have a chip and tracked. Yeah, we see where that's going. So think some more. Speak up some more, maybe. That would be even better. Figure it out, see what's going on, and then speak up, please, for your own kids' sake and your own family's sake, and your own karmic, bank account, if you want to call it that. So with that being said, I think I covered everything I want to get to. This is a 30-minute video now, but it's an important topic. People are buying into this racism thing, and don't get me wrong, there are people who hate people for color and for race and for sports teams and for the type of truck they drive. If you drive a Ford and I drive a Chevy, or you drive a Chevy and I drive a Ford. Kids, come on. Let's grow up. We're older than this. I love every one of you, despite your race, color, gender, religion. You can hate me for wearing a hat or wearing a beard or having a bald head or whatever it may be, brown eyes. You can hate me for whatever you want. I genuinely love you, and I know that one day you will figure it out that you and I are one, and we are love, all of us. So be well, and hopefully this helps some of you. Thank you.